Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. We're coming off of a huge recruiting weekend. We're on fire right now. Obviously landed five-star offensive lineman, number one offensive lineman in the entire class, David Sanders Jr. And then the big surprise was Jaden Harmon flipping from Alabama as quickly as he did. We thought that was coming, but we didn't think that it was coming this soon. And there is more to go, okay? We are about to take a look at our commit breakdown, and then we'll also take a look at our big board. I have added a really big name to our big board, so things are not done just yet. And we'll also talk about how this class could potentially end up breaking into the top 5 according to On3. As always, y'all, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. All right, so let's start off with our commit breakdown. And for those of y'all that haven't seen this yet, we have our commits broken down by offense and defense and each position group. And up under each position group, you'll see how many players we have at that position and what their average player rating is according to On3. Down in the bottom right, you can see what the player ratings look like to be a 4-star or to be a 5-star with On3. I think that that's a good correlation for, how well we're actually competing and how well are we recruiting. Up on top of that, you're going to see where we rank at nationally. We are currently 6th. In the SEC, we are 4th. We have an average score, we have an overall score of a 91.95. And we have a blue chip ratio of 61%. 23 total commits. It's going to be 11 on offense and 12 on defense. Now, we know that we added 2 new players. It's going to be 1 on the offensive line. If you look over here, you can see that we currently have 4 commits for the offensive line. We went to a 93.1 where we were at a 90.93 last time that we did this. And the offense went up from a 90.71 to a 91.50. And then looking back over here at the defense, we added 1 linebacker who is obviously Jaden Harmon, and he took our rating up from a 90.88 to a 91.36, and the defense's overall rating went from an 89.79 to a 90.27. So obviously we're doing a phenomenal job. Like we always say, look at where most of the talent is, okay? It's front 7 stuff. That's what you need to be dominant in this league, and I think that we're going to be dominant for quite some time moving forward. Now it's time to take a look at our big board as of today's date, August the 19th. And of course, up under expected commits, the only player that we have right here is going to be Onis Konabani, 4-star cornerback. He's going to be announcing this Friday. Feel great about where our Volunteers are at. He's been a Tennessee lean for quite some time, but it's down between us and Florida State. If we add him, I think that we'll probably crack into the top 5 with On3 and maybe 24/7 Sports. Either way, I want for y'all to keep in mind that what we see just as far as, these sites and stuff where they have us rated at, it's kind of more of just a gauge to see how we're doing versus other programs. But I think that, that there's a lot of politics that is involved with this. I can promise you that. But also, I think that sometimes they just flat out don't evaluate these players right. It's too many players. I feel like it's hard to tell the difference from, a player that's at number 105 to number 104, especially if they play the same position. How do you kind of, determine who's better here whenever it's just a few inches? So keep that in mind, but I know some of y'all are stargazers. I think that adding Onis Konabani could bring us on up to the top 5. We'll take a look here at that in just a second. But up under possible commits, we've got a new one, Ty Jackson. He's a 4-star linebacker. On3 has him as the number 1 linebacker in the entire country, and he is a really good football player, okay? He's been kind of leaning towards Alabama for some time, but I think that he's, obviously still going to, look at all of his options. But really, I think us and Florida State should be 2 teams to keep a very close eye out on. And he is going to be visiting our Volunteers. Now, he's not going to be announcing until December the 4th, so we have some time left. But I think that if you, take a look at the way that this team's probably going to be playing, we've talked about this with guys like Jaden Harmon and other players. Whenever you take a look at what this defense could potentially be coming up for 2024 up under Coach Inge, I think that players are going to want to come and play in a system like ours where we're going to let you roam free. We're going to let you make plays, and you're going to get very well trained and developed at a high level. So I'm thinking now that Ty Jackson could end up maybe being the last linebacker that we add in this class. If we want to add anything else, it would probably be defensive tackle. So that takes us to the next player, Andrew Maddox, and he is currently committed to Ole Miss. I'm not quite sure where we are with this one. It does sound like he's planning on coming up in the fall and visiting our Volunteers. That would be really big. And he's another one that, anytime that you're talking about defensive line prospects, they want to come and play for Coach G because of what he's done developing guys like James Pierce and, Big O, Big E, really everybody. So I think that that's another position group that we could expect as the season kind of goes on. More and more players will be wanting to see, hey, what's going on up there in Knoxville? And they'll want to come join in on the party. But yeah, front seven, man, we are absolutely dominant right now. And then the last player up on the possible commits is going to be D. Morris. He is a 3-star athlete from Tennessee, currently committed to USC. And I think that if we can get him up on campus, we have a pretty good chance to maybe flip him. We want him to play running back, but I also wouldn't be too surprised if we keep our eyes open for some other running back prospects, just because running backs can kind of pop up at any time. If we can find a player, especially that's a little bit bigger, I feel like that might still be what the staff wants to do. Go on and add a bigger body to go along with a Justin Baker. That would just make the most sense in my opinion. But either way, y'all, we are absolutely rolling on the trail right now. All right, now I want to take a look at On3's team recruiting rankings for 2025. As y'all know, our Volunteers are sitting right here at number 6, right behind Oregon. And Oregon only has 14 commits in this class. If we get on as Conan Banny this Friday, then we'll have 10 more than them. One of the things that I do like about On3 is that they don't necessarily look at how many players you have committed to determine what your ranking is going to be. I think that that's a good thing, but at the same time, I mean, there has to be some sort of a limit, right? I mean, if Tennessee has, 10 more commits than Oregon, I would be pretty hard-pressed to believe that we will not be jumping them at the number 5 spot. You can see that Oregon's currently at a 92.37 rating, and we are at a 91.951. Now, I can tell you, when we added Jaden Harmon, we moved up about half a point, and he is a higher rated 4-star. On his Conan Banny is another 4-star, but he's a little bit lower rated. So we would have to move up to about 0.4, really close to about 0.5 for us to jump Oregon. I think that that could happen coming up this weekend, but we just don't know, because I don't know exactly what their formula is, just as far as how they're breaking down all these ratings and things like that. So we'll see what happens. And I just wanted to kind of scroll through so that y'all can see the rest of that. But I do want to move on over to our current class, because there's a couple of players that I do think, whenever it's all said and done, are going to take some pretty sizable jumps in their ratings, especially, I'm talking about moving up from a 4-star to a 5-star. I think that most of our guys will move up some just as far as the overall rating. But right here, man, Doug Utu is a player that I have absolutely no idea why On3 is the only site that doesn't have him in the top 4 for his position. He should be a 5-star. That one is pretty cut and dry. That's pretty obvious. And I think that really all of our players, most of them anyway, are underrated. But he's one that, I mean, that's kind of like a no-brainer. There's absolutely no reason that he's not a 5-star. I think that he could end up being, kind of like that generational sort of a player that we said that David Sanders could be. I think that his ceiling is crazy. I'll even go as far as to say, if he was on our team right now, he would be fighting to start at the left guard spot. And I mean, I would be surprised if he wasn't starting. That's how good he is. That's how good he's going to be. Also think that GMAC, who has taken really big steps backwards with all of these ratings from all these sites, and I think it's just because he didn't participate too much in some of the off-season stuff, but sounds like they've gotten things together over there at Brentwood, just as far as his offensive line goes. If he comes out and if he has a good season, expect for him to move back up to a 5-star. So then that would give us 3 5-stars total. I think that in and of itself obviously would have us very solid in the top 5. We could be pushing for maybe top 3, but I also feel like Marion Dye is another player that, I mean, Charles Power said a lot of good things about him. I think that he could definitely move up to a 5-star, especially, again, if he has a really good senior season. Now, we could talk about several other players. I think that Shady is a guy who could move up. Could probably say the same thing about Brame. But right here, man, Travis Smith going out there this past Friday and getting, 260-something yards and 2 tugs versus Langston Hughes in the season opener. And Langston Hughes is a really good football program. I think that if he continues to play anywhere near that level, he definitely is going to be moving up to a 5-star. So we're thinking that we could, and I'm just being very, very realistic. I'm being conservative whenever I'm saying this. I think that we could end up having, I'm going to say, at least 3 5-stars before this is all said and done. And that should definitely have us solid in the top 5. Now, there's one more player that I want to talk about all the way down here at the bottom. Okay, Ty Redmond. Some of y'all got to see the stream of Milton versus Buford on this channel, and y'all saw what Ty Redmond did, playing up against a whole bunch of talent, right? Like y'all saw and y'all heard a ton of SEC caliber players out there, that was competition for him. But he stepped up. The ball wasn't thrown to his side very much, if at all, but he's still out there making tackles, making plays. There's absolutely no reason that not only is he a 3-star, but he's this lowly rated of a 3-star. He should not be the lowest rated player in this class. He's a really good football player. I definitely expect if anyone's going to be taking a really big jump, it's probably going to be Ty. And I think that they're going down to Florida this weekend, maybe to play up against one of those South Florida teams. But if he continues to play the way that he has been playing, there's absolutely no reason that he does not move up in these rankings. that'll be something else that really helps us out to, get into the top 5. And again, y'all, I think that this class really could end up being top 3 before it's all said and done. So you have to be very proud of what we're doing right now, going out and identifying talent, landing some really big names, and also going out and getting some guys that are underrated that's going to come in and play with that chip on their shoulder. That's so important just to keep that edge on this team. But man, I think that this class is going to end up being absolutely phenomenal. It already looks great. And don't be surprised if we go out and flip a few more players, just because some of these guys just wanted to know, hey, can Tennessee compete at a really high level? How good can they really be? Because everything sounds good. It all feels good. Great family vibe. We hear that from everybody. But can they go out and do it on Saturday? So if this team goes out and performs the way that we feel like they will, then yeah, man, we are going to probably end up landing and, flipping a few more really high caliber players. And, I guess my biggest question would be, will we have enough room for everybody? But that's not for me to have to worry about. That's on the staff. I'm sure that they will be able to put it all together, though. Let me know y'all's thoughts down in the comments section, man. I feel like the Vols are officially back. As always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.